This week's Parsha is Parshas Shemos, and we are Be'ezus Hashem holding at the fourth shir of Parshas Shemos, Perek Gimel, Pasuk Tes Zayin, Chamishi. So, in the previous shir, HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself to Moshe Rabbeinu for the first time at the burning bush. And he gave him the shlichus, the mission of being the one to go to Paroi and tell him, let my people go. Meaning, giving him the shlichus of being the Maneg Yisrael, the one that would lead the Yidden into the Midbar, ultimately be Mekabel the Torah on their behalf. Now, the previous shir dealt primarily with the first part of the Shakla V'Tarya between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe. Today's shir is going to deal with the Seifa, the second half of the Shakla V'Tarya between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe. So just to very, very briefly recap where exactly it is that we are. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself to Moshe Rabbeinu at a burning bush where? By Har Sinai. That's significant. So that initial revelation happened at Har Sinai. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself, the first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu did was what anybody would do if they were going to reveal themselves to somebody, and that is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu introduces himself. Vayomer Anochi Elokei Avicha, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. And then he jumps into the mission and the purpose of why he's now revealing himself to him. I've noticed and I've heard and I've seen all the tzaras that your brethren are struggling with the Mitzrayim. And I've descended, that's why you see me now, I've descended to be matzel them and to take them from Mitzrayim and to bring them into Ha'aretz Ahi, El Eretz Toivu Rechava, El Eretz Zavas Chalav Udvash. What's that place? Al Makoim Aknani, V'Hachiti, V'Hamori, V'Haprizi, V'Achivi, V'Yavusi. V'Ato now, L'chove Eshlachach El Paroi. I want you to go to Paroi, V'Hoitzi Es Ami B'nei Yisrael Mitzrayim, and I want you to be the one that's going to take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. And when Moshe Rabbeinu heard that initial ask from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he responded and he questioned HaKadosh Baruch Hu from two perspectives. He said, number one, Mi Anochi Ke'elech El Paroi. Number two, V'Chi Oitzi Es B'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, mi anochi ke'elech al paroi. Who am I? Meaning, I understand, and I'm very excited over the notion that the time has come for the Yidden to be redeemed from Mitzrayim. But I think you have the wrong person. Mi anochi, I don't have the qualifications. I'm a royet tzayin, I'm a shval anoshim. I'm not a person of stature to the level where I can negotiate some sort of deal with the Pharaoh, with the king of the mightiest nation on earth. Additionally, he said, now what those words mean is a big discussion and confusion amongst the Rishonim. In the previous year, we mentioned three pshatim. Rashi says, what merit, what did the Yidden do to deserve to be able to leave Mitzrayim? The Rashbam said, even if I had the qualifications to talk to a Paroi, even if I was someone that could be Elech El Paroi, but there's no way in the world Paroi is going to let the Jews leave his land. So this whole idea of V'hoitzi es ami b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim would seem to be dead on arrival. The Ramban says the argument was that I don't think I'm going to be able to convince the Jews to be able to go into Canaan. To convince them to stop being slaves? Yeah, of course, all day, every day. But you're telling me that the mission is to go ahead and take them from Mitzrayim, ulahaloisai min haaretz ahi, where? To the land of the Knani and the Chiti and the Amori and the Prizi and the Chivi and the Yevusi. They're not going to take it lying down. They're going to want to kill us. And oh, by the way, as bad as we have it in Mitzrayim, but we're not being killed in Mitzrayim. It's not genocide, right? And as a result, I don't think the Jews will ever agree. Kadosh Baruch Hu heard both things that Moshe Rabbeinu said, and he responded. As relates to mi anochi ke'elech al paroi, that's not something you have to worry about, because you're not flying solo. I'm going to be with you every single step of the way. And just like you see, I'm here now. I'm part of the equation. This was true on a very high level. But the bottom line is that's not something you have to be concerned about. As it relates to V'chi Oitzias B'nei Yisrael Mi Mitzrayim, have no fear. Because B'Yitziachas Ami Mitzrayim, Tavdun Esno Lekim Ala Harazeh. How does that answer the second question? Well, it depends what the second question was. Like Rashi, the second question was, what schus did the Yidden have? Hashem told him nothing. But in the future, they're going to be Mekabel the Torah, and it's based on what's going to happen in the future that I'm taking them out right now. The Rashbam said, how are you going to convince Paroi to let the Jews leave? I'm not asking you to tell Paroi to let the Jews leave. What you're going to tell him is that we want to travel derech shloishes yamim, but we're going to return. Meaning, and then we're going to come back. That's the punchline. And as a result, that's not something that you have to worry about. And the way the Ramban explained the question, how am I going to convince the Yidden to follow me into what seems like a death trap, into the land of the Knani, and the Chiti, and the Amori, and the Prizi, and the Chivi Vayavusi? Right now, you wouldn't have the ability to do that. But I am going to reveal myself to you in front of the Yidden in such an incredible way at this mountain, Har Sinai, and after that, they're going to buy in on such a level. This is not something you have to worry about. So it's a good kasha, Moshe Rabbeinu. But you're going to see, it's playing itself out now. By the time we get to the point that we actually have to enter the land of the Knani, and the Chiti, and the Amori, and the Prizi, and the Yevusi, by then, this is not something that's going to be an issue anymore. So Moshe Rabbeinu hears out HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then he has a follow-up question. He says, okay, I hear. L'maisa, I'm going to come to the Yidden, and they're going to ask me, what's your name? What should I tell them? And the question's a little bit cryptic. What does that have to do with the Inyan? Kadosh Baruch Hu's response is even more cryptic. Vayomer Elokim al Moshe Eke Asher Eke. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, say Eke Shlachani Aleichem. Kadosh Baruch Hu continues and says, you should say Zeh Shmi La'olam V'zeh Zichri L'dar Dar. This part of the Shakla V'Tayra we sort of left on the side, a little bit above our pay grade, but either way, it's over there in the narrative that we pick up now with the Shakla V'Tayra between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe. So again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself to Moshe. He gives them the epic shlichus. V'ata l'cha ve'eshlachacha el parei v'hitzi es ami b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu's immediate reaction is two things. Number one, mi anoichi ke'elech al parei. Number two, v'chi oitzi es b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to continue and clarifying what exactly it is that he wants Moshe Rabbeinu to tell Pari. Says the pasuk, Leich v'asafta ziknei Yisrael. I want you to go and gather the ziknei Yisrael. V'amarta leim, and you should tell them, Hashem elikav yisechem nirei elai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's the God of your Zaydas, he revealed himself to me. Who are your Zaydas? Elikei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Leimer, and this is what he told me. Pakoid pakadati eschem. I remember you, and I see everything that's going on in Mitzrayim. Rashi says that although traditionally Ziknei Yisrael would mean the elders of Israel, but in this pasuk it's actually not what it means. Rashi says Ziknei Yisrael miyuchadim liyeshiva. It was not the elders, meaning it's not everyone over a certain age, but rather it was the chashuvim. It was the people that were yuchadim liyeshiva. And the truth is, you find sometimes the word zakein means literally old, and sometimes zakein, like the Gemara says, is a nutrikon. It's an acronym for Zeh Shekana Chachma. So zakein, even though we think always means old, it actually doesn't always mean old. And in this context, Leich v'asafta eziknei Yisrael doesn't mean older people, but it means go gather some of the chashava people. What should you tell them? Pakoit pakadati eschem ve'es ha'asui lachem b'Mitzrayim. You should continue and you should say va'omar that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told me ala eschem yoni Mitzrayim that I'm going to take you up from the poverty and the pain and the suffering that's going on in Egypt. Where am I going to take you to? El Eretz Aknani v'Achiti v'Amori v'Prizi v'Achivi v'Yavusi El Eretz Zavas Chol v'Dvash v'Shamu l'Keilecha. Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe that I'm going to tell you how this is going to play itself out. Inside information. They're going to listen to you. Meaning, they're going to accept, they're going to buy into what it is you're saying. Uvasa, and you're going to go. Ata v'Ziknei Yisrael Melech Mitzrayim. You together with the Ziknei Yisrael to the king of Egypt. Famartem Elov, and you shall tell him, Hashem Elokeinu Ivri. Hashem, who is the Elokei HaIvriyim. Nikra Olenu, he chanced upon us. And now we want to go on a 3-day track in the Midbar. And we want to bring karbanos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealing to Moshe what's going to happen in the future. That the king of Egypt is not going to allow. Now, there's Machlokes Rashi and the Ramban, what those words mean. Rashi says that what Hashem was saying is that Paro is not simply going to take this line down and he's just going to allow you to leave. Until I come biyad chazaka, then he's going to acquiesce. The Ramban says no. V'loi biyad chazaka means that Paro is not going to let you go, and even biyad chazaka, he's still not going to let you go. What am I going to have to do in order for this to play itself out? The shalachti es yadi, v'hikesi es mitzrayim b'chol nifla oisai, asher esa b'kirbay. I'm going to have to make incredible miracles, what we know as the makis, v'archechen, and it's only after that yishalach eschem. So you're going to ask, it's not going to work. Even a yad chazaka is not going to work. What's going to happen is something so spectacular, something the world's going to talk about until the end of time. Literally, at Bias Goyal Tzedek. Ad v'loy ad b'chlal, right? But ad Bias Goyal Tzedek, people are going to talk about the incredible miracles that I'm going to have to perform in order to make this able to happen. Kadosh Baruch Hu continued, and he said, I'm going to place the chen, the charm of this nation in the eyes of the mitzvah, so that when they're going to leave, they're not going to leave empty-handed. In fact, every woman is going to borrow from her neighbor, or the woman that lives in her house, klei kesef, ukleizav, usmalois, right? Jewelry made of gold, jewelry made of silver, even clothing. You're going to place it on your children, your sons and your daughters. V'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. And by doing this, you're going to clean out the land of Egypt. Either way. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu now gives Moshe the next part of the shlichus, right? Up until now, what did Hashem say? He talked a lot about how he sees all the pain and suffering that's going on, and the shlichus is v'hoitzeis ami b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. Okay, so that's 20,000 feet. Now I need to know, bullet point by bullet point, I need to know in a more nuanced way, what exactly am I supposed to say? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu now rolls it out. He says, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the Ziknei Yisrael. Not the older people, but the Miyuchadim Liyeshiva. And you're going to tell them that Hashem Elikev Yisechem Nirei Elai, Pakoy Pakadati Eschem, the time has come for you to ascend. V'shamalu Keilechem. That's going to go really, really well. They're going to join you, go together with you to Paro. You're going to then make the pitch to Paro. The pitch to Paro is going to be a more nuanced pitch. And oh, by the way, that's not going to go nearly as well. The pitch to Paro is going to be that we want to go into the Midbar. We want to travel derech shloshos yamim. The purpose is v'nizbecha la'Hashem Elokeinu. Paro is going to say no way. Even b'yad chazaka, he won't agree to. It's only after I'm going to be v'hikesi es Mitzrayim v'shalachti es yadi b'chol nefla isai. It's then and only then it's going to work out. But you should know when it eventually is going to work out, it's not going to work out. Because at that point it's going to be v'nosati es cheina amaz nebe ini Mitzrayim. And when the Yidden are going to leave, they're not going to leave Rekam. In fact, all the Jewish women are going to be borrowing from their neighbors and the people that live with them. Klei kesef, klei zav, usmales, ad kidei kach v'nitzaltem es Mitzrayim. Literally, they're going to make Mitzrayim like a mitzula. They're going to make it completely empty. That's how much they're going to rummage the land of Mitzrayim. So there's a few very, very basic aras. Nothing fancy. Again, we know these psukim in our sleep, I think. And at the same time, there's some very obvious questions that now that we approach it with more mature eyes, I think we have to ask ourselves. Number one. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, you're going to pitch the Ziknei Yisrael, v'shamu l'koilecha. Rashi says, ki yodua, that why is it that the Ziknei Yisrael are going to accept what it is that you're saying? Maybe you're not telling the truth. Why would they just all of a sudden say, yeah, for sure, you're someone that really had this revelation from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The reason is because you're going to mention the magic words, Pakoit Pakadati Eschem. And you should know, Klal Yisrael has a Messiah. Simin zeh masa biyada meyakov u'meyosef, shebeloshin zeh hein negalim. And as a matter of fact, at the very, very end of Parshas Vayechi, literally, from the last things that Yosef HaTzadik told Klal Yisrael, Vayomer Yosef Alechav, Anoichi meis, ve'lekim pokoid yifkoid eschem. Next pasuk. Vayashba Yosef es bnei Yisrael lemer pokoid yifkoid elikim eschem va'alisem es atzmoisai mizeh. It's the second to last and third to last psukim of Sefer Bereshis. So Yosef HaTzadik had already said pokoid yifkoid, which meant literally HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to remember you, but there's also a hidden meaning, and that is that somebody's going to come, he's going to say the words Pakoid Yifkoid or Pakoid Pakadati, and like this everyone's going to know that this person is the true Redeemer. And when you hear those words, you're going to know it's time to go out. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, V'shamalu kailech, now I know, because I just gave you the magic words Pakoid Pakadati Eschem, and when the Yidden hear the words Pakoid Pakadati Eschem, they're going to know for sure that you're the right one. Parenthetically, Rashi says that Simon's and Masa biyada miyakov Yosef. Rashi says Yaakov Amar and Yosef Amar. If you look at the Mefarshei Rashi, everyone struggles. Where did Yaakov say the words Pakad Bakadate? It says twice this idea of Pakad Yifkod, but both times Yosef is talking. Look at those last psukim in Parshas Vayechi. But either way, this is a chazal that we've been taught since we've been little children. But there's very obvious kasha that you have to ask, and that is, it almost makes no sense. If there was a simon and there was a Messiah, that any person that's going to walk in and is going to say, Pakad Pakadati, must be, because Baruch Hu revealed himself to him, so then how could Pakad Pakadati mean anything? That person would have known the simon and the Messiah, just like everybody else knows the simon and the Messiah. And if that's the case, it should have no meaning. Mamonavshach. If no one knows about it, then it's not going to be meaningful. And if everybody knows about it, well, then it's mufrach minei ubei. Then the fact that you're going ahead and you're saying these words would seemingly be completely meaningless. So you know who asks this kasha? It's the same Mefarish that asks every obvious kasha, Keman and Chumash, and that is the Ramban. The Ramban asks this kasha, and the Ramban says something based on a chazal, and that is, you have to say, that as much as we were taught as children, that everyone knew that there was going to be a leader that was going to say, Pakad Pakadati, it can't be true, because it would make absolutely zero sense. It works when you're teaching it to a 6-year-old, but it doesn't make sense if you're actually thinking, okay, so what then was this Messiah? There was a Messiah that Yechidim knew. There was this secret society where there was this code word that was handed down, miyachid liyachid, where very, very few people were aware of it. In fact, the Ramban quotes a chazal that says that Yaakov told it to Yosef, and Yosef told it to Levi, and Levi told it to Kahas. There was this very, very little secret that Yechidei knew. The whole Olam didn't know about it. This was passed down, mamish, bechadrei chadarim, belel shimurim, when nobody's looking and nobody's listening. That was the only way that someone would ever pass over this code. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu, if you remember his story, grew up in the house of Parai. He was a fugitive from the time that he was very, very young. He showed up now, he's 80 years old. There's no way in the world Moshe Rabbeinu would have had access to this code. So if Moshe Rabbeinu walks in now and he says, Pakad Pakadati Eschem, everyone's like, whoa. We have to take him seriously. This is not a joke. It's not something that teaching the kids in Cheder and Goshen. This is something that Yechidim knew. Think of the Rabbin of Kabbalah, the biggest mysteries of Sefer Yetzirah, of the Idra, of all the most mystical works that exist. Rizil HaMalach. These are the secrets of all the secrets. And now all of a sudden somebody walks in and he knew how to say that word, or those words of Pakad Pakadati. How does he know that? It must be because HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself to him. And that's the V'shamu L'Koilecha. I saw Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky in Emes L'Yaakov. He brings the Ramban and he adds one neifach. He says, it's Yitachen and Mistaber and Pshuta Shel Mikra, that's the reason that Moshe Rabbeinu went first and he pitched the Ziknei Yisrael, and only afterwards is he going to go and he's going to pitch the rest of Klal Yisrael. Because it was only the Ziknei Yisrael that would be able to determine that what he's saying is the emes. So first, Leichva Safta Ziknei Yisrael. And by the way, what does Rashi say? What is Ziknei Yisrael? Miyuchadim li yeshiva, not the older people. These people that are miyuchadim li yeshiva, they know the secret. They're included. They're part of this secret society. They're part of this chabura that knows the magic words. So they'll buy into Moshe. Once the Ziknei Yisrael know about it, they'll be able to go ahead and they'll be able to fakoif it. He says it's mistaber that this was actually Rashi's hechrech to learn that Ziknei Yisrael doesn't mean zikenim amish, but it means miyuchadim li yeshiva. Because to go ahead and pitch the older people before the younger people, mechatesi, The whole reason why Moshe Rabbeinu was pitching the Ziknei Yisrael is because V'shama l'koilecha, he's going to get them on board. And the older people that don't know anything about this Messiah are not coming on board because they hear the words Parka Bakadati. Who's coming on board because of Parka Bakadati? The Miyuchadim Liyeshiva. Heinei Nadvarim. Learning up Rashi. That's how Rashi knew that the Ziknei Yisrael are the Miyuchadim Liyeshiva. Rashi, with those two words, Miyuchadim Liyeshiva, said Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, could be as being miramis to this Inyan that the Ramban talks about, and that is Pakod Pakadati was going to work because there were only Yechidim that actually knew about it. That's the first star. Second ara. Again, we're mamish talking about the most basic of basic things, nothing fancy. I don't even know if this is right. So Hashem tells Moshe that I want you to go together with this Canaan to Parai and say the following: Elikeyu Evriyim Nikra Aleinu. I want to ask you, was that a true statement? Was that a true statement? What was Moshe Rabbeinu's real ask? His ask was to go to the Midbar Derech Shloishes Yamim. It's not what his real ask was. His real ask was, we want to leave. We're not coming back. It's Meshiga. We're not ever going to see Mitzrayim again. 3 Lavan in the Torah. You're not allowed to go back to Mitzrayim. We have zero intention of ever returning. So why then is Moshe Rabbeinu saying that we're going to go Derech Shloishes Yamim Bamidbar? It's some form of Ramos. Hashem, Shechoisamay Emes, is telling Moshe, who's Moshe Emes, to go ahead and speak deceitfully to Parai. It doesn't feel appropriate. Just to add insult to injury. V'shala isha mishchenta umigaras beisa klei kesav v'klei zav u'smalis. Go tell the chevra that you're going to borrow, quote unquote, their schayra, and you're going to return it. Nobody was borrowing nothing. Nobody was returning anything. At first glance, this whole inyan is really Einoi Omer Elo Darsheni. In fact, if you take a look at the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, he has a very, very big arichos on this. And just to read one excerpt, after he says a little bit of a pshat, and before he doubles down and tries to say a little bit more of a pshat, in the middle he throws in the following one-liner. V'adayin tzarich losei slave, soif kol soif, lama yitzava Hashem dvarim she'ina mehamusar. In mehamusar meaning it's unethical. Lignov daiton, bein bahalicha, bein bahashalas chefzeim. It's a pelade gezach, ayin sham barachaim who struggles. And the truth is, look at all the Rishonim. All the Rishonim struggle with this on some level. But I'll tell you a davar nifla that Rabbeinu Bechaya says. Rabbeinu Bechaya says, quote, Derech shloishes yamim. Chas v'sholem sheyi adav hazeh armor kedei levrayach. Chas v'sholem, that when Moshe Rabbeinu said we want to go out derech shloishes yamim, really they were going to run away. Elo kedei lekabel mitzvos. The inyan of going out derech shloishes yamim was to be mekabel mitzvos. Ki ratza Kadosh Baruch Hu lachnisam b'mitzvos ma'at ma'at. Because Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted that the Yidden should enter the olam mitzvos a little bit at a time. Because Kach we know that's how it played itself out. Esem mitzvahs nitztav Yisrael b'mara. Shem mitzvah noach, and then there were a few additional mitzvahs. And it's for that reason, the goal initially was for the Yidden to go to the Midbar. Where were they going to go? To Har Sinai. They were going to be Mekabel Miktzas mitzvahs. They were going to actually come back, and at some later date, that's when the Exodus was really going to play itself out. But says Rabbeinu Bachya b'Lashoni Azov, Chas v'sholom sheyi adav hazeh armor kedei levrayach. They were actually going to go for a short period of time, piecemeal, and then they were going to return. What was the objective of going there? To be makabel the mitzvahs. Take some of the mitzvahs? Yeah, that's the way it played itself out. We know that there were mitzvahs that Yidden when it's Tava B'mar. Right, the truth is, we always talk about in the Daf Yomi Shiurim, the Rambam in Perek Tes Hilchos Melachim, where the Rambam talks about how Adam Rishon got 6 mitzvahs and Noach got a 7th, and then Avram was in Stavel HaMilah, and Yitzchak gave Maestris, and then Yaakov had his Inyanim, right, Moshe and Amram, right, that famous Rambam. But the bottom line is that you see the Shalshalos HaMitzvahs came about, not 613 boom in one shot. No, it built on itself a little bit. And the truth is, even in Mara, you see the Yidden got certain mitzvahs. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, that was the tachlis over there. They were going to go derech shloishes yamim, and ultimately they were going to return. One other misnomer that I think is worth clarifying, and that is, va'ato nelchana derech shloishes yamim b'midbar. The Yidden weren't going to spend 3 days in the midbar, right? Just stating the obvious. They were going to travel derech shloshis yom. In fact, the Ramban in Parshas Yisro, when Klal Yisrael arrives at Har Sinai, throws in the middle of a piece that the Mahalach from Mitzrayim to Har Sinai was derech shloshis yom, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu always told Paroi that we want to go derech shloshis yom. Now, how long this yontif was going to be and how much time they were going to spend there, that the Torah doesn't say. Derech shloshis yom meant they were going to travel for 3 days, not they were going to be away for 3 days. At the very least, it's 3 days there and 3 days back, and then you have to figure out how long they're actually going to be at Har Sinai. But the point is, it's Nelchana Derech Shloshis Yom. Let's travel 3 days. And like Ramban says in Parshas Yisro, because Har Sinai was 3 days away from where the Yidden were in Mitzrayim. One other interesting Maramakim, and that is V'shalo Isha Mishchenta Umigaras Beisa. So, the Rechaim already Bavarn, that seems like Ramos, right? They are borrowing. Where are they borrowing? If you take a look at the Rashbam in Oime Pshutei Shel Mikra, and by the way, there are some Rashbams here that we're going to gloss over, but for extra credit, they're fire. Some of the Pshutei Shel Mikra Rashbams here, it's mamash, you have to see to believe. But the Rashbam says, V'shali Isha Mishchenta. What does that mean? B'matana gemura v'chaluta. They're going to kindly request, can you please give me a gift? Can you give me your jewelry? Right? I like it. Maybe you want to give it to me. Shari kosav v'nosati escheina'am. Right? What's the preface to V'shala? V'nosati escheina'am. What, to borrow something you don't have to have chein? To get a gift, for that you need chein. Says the Ramban, the word V'shala means to request a gift. Yeah, sha'al mimeni ve'etno goyim nachal osecha. Zeu ikr pshutai, says the Rashbam, v'tshuva l'minim, and this is a tshuva to the minim who give the Jews a hard time that I understand you were acting unethically, that you went ahead and you didn't borrow nothing. We requested a gift. What does the word v'shala mean? Everybody thinks v'shala means it's miloshin hashoyel, right? There's 4 shomrim, a shomer chinam, a shomer sacher, a soicher, and a shoyel. It doesn't mean to borrow; it means to request. Sha'al mimeni ve'etno acha sha'alti mi'es Hashem. Nafshi b'sheilosi. It's a request. It's a sheila. You know what the request is? Give me your jewelry. Even though it seems like a bizarre request, but you're going to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe that it's going to play itself out. Either way, again, the objective over here is just to clarify things that we already know. Moving along on this thing. So again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu now made his pitch in a much more elaborate form. Right? The first time was what we would call the elevator pitch. This is already the more detailed pitch. Now it's Moshe Rabbeinu's turn to respond. Moshe responded. And he said, I don't think they're going to believe me. They're not going to listen to my voice. They're going to say, Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't reveal himself to you. You can't go weiter without hitting the pause button. You almost can't even say this pasuk out of your mouth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, V'shamu l'koylecha. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? V'lo yishma'u b'koyli. How's that even possible? How's that even possible? So the Ramban asks the kasha, again, he asks all the obvious kashas, and the Ramban says a beautiful pshat. He says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, you're going to go lechatchila to the Skenim, and you're going to say, Pakit pakadati, v'shamu l'kaylecha. Amazing. But what did Hashem tell Moshe afterwards? V'ani yodati, but I know that when you're going to come to Paro, kilo yitein eschem melech Mitzrayim lahaloch. Not even biyod chazaka, the way the Ramban learns, but rather it's going to take the Shalachtias Yodi, VKCS Mitzrayim, B'chol Nifla Oisai, until Paro is finally going to allow you to go out. You have no idea. I'm going to have to turn the world upside down. I'm going to have to be Meshana Sidrei Bereshis. Taina's Moshe, that I understand why the Skenim are going to buy into me for the first minute. Because I'm going to say, Pakah Bakadati, I know this secret code. But I think that the minute it's going to go awry, and the minute this is going to start working backwards, all of a sudden they're going to look at me and they're going to say that I'm a fraud. That somehow I got access to this code. Somebody leaked this information, right? And as a result, they're going to say, he's not being Erlich. Moshe is not contradicting what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I know v'shamu l'koylecha, but I think after things don't go well with Pari, at that point they're going to come around. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, I hear what you're saying. We'll work this out. Tell me, what are you holding in your hand? And now all the fun starts. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, I want you to take this stick, I want you to throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground. And all of a sudden, the matter turned into a nachash, the stick turned into a snake. It was so real so alive, Vayanas Moshe Mipanav. I think of some Egyptian cobra. I don't know what kind of snake this was. But Moshe Rabbeinu was so scared, he started running, literally. Hashem told Moshe, Shlach Yadcha, I want you to stick out your hand. Right? Just tickle its tail. I want you to pick it up by its tail. Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay. Vayishlach Yadai, Vayachazek boy, Vayihilamata b'chapoy. And it turned into a shtekin all over again. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at Moshe and tells him, the Ramban says this next pasuk is a mikra kotzer. It's missing some words. Laman yaminu. The reason I did this was so that the Zikanim will believe. Ki nirei lecha Hashem Elokei Avoisam, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yisrael, Elokei Yaakov. I'm telling you this is going to work. Trust me. When they see you pull off this stunt, they're all in. But then Hashem told Moshe, we know api shnayim edem yakum davar, right? Anytime you want to prove something with an aid, with a witness, can't have one aid, you have to have two aidim. So here's the second miracle. I want you to take your hand and you should put it in your chest area. Moshe Rabbeinu took his hand, he put it by his chest. He removed it, and all of a sudden his hand had tzaras on it. It was white like snow. Immediately go ahead and put your hand back into your chest. And it went back to how it been previously. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're worried, or maybe you're not, but I'm telling you, maybe they're not going to listen to the first ois. The second ois, that already they're going to believe. The Torah says, Al pishnayim edem, oish loishim edem. Right? There's an idea of a third aid as well. So what's going to be if they're not going to believe? They're not going to accept even the two oises. So what I'm going to tell you to do is you should take from the water of the Ya'ar, and you should pour it on the ground, on the dry land. That water is going to turn into blood, and by then already, there's no union of a fourth aid. Everything is for sure going to work itself out. Just one nuance, notice how the first two Isis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually performed with Moshe. Right? Hashem told Moshe, take the mat, throw it on the ground, it turned into a nachash. Chapesun, right? By the Zanav, and then it turned back into a mata. Take it out. But when it came to the Mayim and the Yar, he didn't tell him to play itself out. He told him it's going to happen in the future. What's Pashib Shat? Because he didn't have the Yar. He just didn't have the Mei HaYar there. He had his stick, he had his hand, he had his chait, but he didn't have the Mei HaYar. So that already, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe, you're going to have to already, take my word for it. And that is that this is going to play itself out. So Vayomer Moshe Lasem. Moshe Rabbeinu continues talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, Bi Adoini. Ich beitach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lo yish dvar manoichi. I'm not a man of words. Gam mitmol, I wasn't a man of words yesterday. Gam mishulshoin, I wasn't a man of words the day before. Gam miyozda bercha alavdecha, not even the day before that. Ki chvad peu chvad loshan anoichi. I'm someone that has a difficult time speaking. Vayem Hashem me'ilov. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, so you're suggesting what? That because you have a difficult time speaking, so for that reason, you're not someone that can go and take on this mission that obviously involves certain oratory skills. Hashem tells Moshe, Misam Pela Adam. Who is it that placed a mouth inside man? Oy mi yasum ile. Who would cause someone to not have the ability to speak? Oy cheresh. Who is it that makes someone a cheresh, not be able to hear? Oy pikeach, or someone to be completely healthy. Oy iver, or blind. Haloyanoichi Hashem. This is all from me. I don't understand. You're worried that you're a kvad pen, you're a kvad loshen. I'm sending you. This is all my Indian. If whatever needs to be worked on and addressed on, I'm going to take care of. I want you to go. I will be with you. And I'm going to tell you everything that you should say. But Moshe Rabbeinu fought back. And he said, Bi Hashem, shlach no biyat tishlach. I hear everything that you're saying, but please, I still don't think I should be the person. Find someone else to do it. I hear. They have an answer for everything. I'm asking you to send it to somebody else. Rashi says that when Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shlach no b'yat tishlach, he didn't just mean anybody, but he was actually referring to someone specific. In fact, Rashi says, what does it mean? Shlach no b'yat tishlach. It's like a wordy phrase, double lashon. B'yad misha atarogel l'shloach. I think the shliach should be the person that's been your shlich in the past, and that's a Aaron. And this is an idea that we're going to get back to. But before Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen to be the leader of the Jewish people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Navi that he used to communicate messages through was Aharon HaKohen. So Aharon HaKohen already has this job. He's grandfathered in. He's been doing this for a very long time. He's great at it. Shlach Nabiyat Tishlach. What do you need me to do it for? I hear all the answers. But at the end of the day, I still think it's better that you send it through Aharon. When Moshe Rabbeinu said this, all of a sudden, the tone of HaKadosh Baruch Hu changed. Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu got angry at Moshe. Vayomer, and he said, Alo Yaharon achicha alevi yodati kidabi yadabru. I know Aharon is very good at this job. V'gam hinei hu yoytze likrosech. And by the way, when you're going to head back to Mitzrayim, he's going to come greet you. V'gam hinei and he's going to see you, and he's going to be very happy that you're the one that I chose to go ahead and be the one to do this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell Aharon that he should partner up with you in this venture. You're going to speak and communicate all the messages that I'm going to give you to him. You're going to literally take the words and spoon feed them into his mouth. I'm going to be there with you. I'll be there with Aharon as well. And I'm going to tell the two of you what it is that you should do. He's going to speak to the nation on your behalf. He's going to be your mouthpiece. This is Lashon Chol, not Lashon Kodesh. And you're going to be the Rav, the Sar. You're going to be the one that's going to be dictating, telling him what to do. And by the way, I want you to take the stick with you. Because through this stick, you're going to perform miracles. And by the way, not only the miracles that he's going to perform to the Ziknei Ya'am to prove the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually sent them, but all the Nisim and the Neflois that are going to take place from here moving forward, they're all going to happen with this Mata. So, as a last-ditch effort, Moshe Rabbeinu tells Hashem that Shlach Nabiyat Tishlach. I don't know why you're sending me. I think you should send Aharon. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu basically tells him, yeah, don't worry. Aharon's going to have a role over here. I am going to send Aharon. Aharon's actually going to be a partner. He's going to be thrilled to be involved. You're going to be the main person. Aharon is going to be working for you, right? Where do you see that? You see that clearly because but Yishanov is going to be very, very happy with this mission and with his position. But Enichinami, it's going to be the two of you that are going to be working together in tandem. So what just happened? Let's do a little bit of a sikkum. And again, just speak out a few very, very basic aras. If you do a sikkum from when HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself to Moshe Rabbeinu for the first time at the Sneh, till we're holding right now, really it's a pretty big shakla v'taya. Right? The next pasuk that we're going to see in the next year, this is Shishi, is Vayelech Moshe Vayoshev al Yeser Choslein, which really concludes this shakla v'taya. So, what happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself to Moshe, and he told him, I know all the tzaras that the Yidden are dealing with. V'ered, I came down to this world, that's why you see me right now on some level, to be matzel them. I want you to be the one that's going to take the inanimate right. Moshe Rabbeinu immediately put up resistance. Mi anoichi ke'elech al paroi. One. V'chi oitzeas b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. Two. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, I'm going to be with you. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu fleshes out what the actual mission, what the shlichus is. He tells him more point by point, detailed and nuanced what exactly he's supposed to do. What's Moshe Rabbeinu's reaction to that? Again, resistance. I don't know if they're going to trust me. I think that as soon as they see Pari puts up a fight, then they're going to think that I'm a fraud and I'm not really telling the truth. David says, don't worry about it. You're going to make nisim and a flies. And he shows him two, tells him about a third. Once they see these miracles, they're going to believe, they're going to trust you. But Moshe Rabbeinu still says, right? I'm a kfad peh, I'm a kfad loshen. I still don't think I'm qualified for the job. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, that's what you're worried about? Mi sam peh adam, umi yasum ilaim, halo anoichi Hashem. And as a result, that's not a taina. But Moshe Rabbeinu again fought back. He said, Shlach nabiyat tishlach. I still think you should send Aharon. David says, I hear Aharon's going to come along with you. 5 times Moshe Rabbeinu puts up a fight. Mi anoichi kelech al paroi. 1. V'chiyotes b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. 2. V'hein lo yaminu li. 3. Lo yish dvarim anoichi. 4. Shlach nabiyat tishlach. I mean, this was an exhausting shakla v'taya, right? This went on for a very long time. In fact, Rashi speaks out that, you know how many days this revelation took? it was 7 days. Rashi says, how do I know that? Because Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, Loi ish dvarim anoichi, gam mitmoil, gam mishilshoim, gam mi'oz dabercha el avdecha. So Rashi, mitmoil is nechten. Shilshoim is Farnachten, or 2 days ago. Mi'oz dabercha el avdecha is the day before that. It says gam, gam, gam. Gam is always the rabbis 3 times. So 3 plus 3 is 6. And then today they're talking. So for 7 days, Moshe Rabbeinu is putting up this fight. And Moshe Rabbeinu just comes up with every taina under the sun until finally he acquiesces when he hears Aaron is coming along with him. At that point, everything was finally okay. So 2 things that we need to address as relates to Pshutei Shel Mikra. Number 1, and this is something that the Rishonim ask, Uberosham the Ramban. And that is that when Moshe Rabbeinu said that I don't think I could do this because lo yish dvarim anoichi, ki chvad peh chvad loshen anoichi, Kadosh Baruch Hu responded, Misam pela adam, miyasam ileim, oicheresh, oipikech, oiver, haloi anoichi Hashem. What did it feel like a Kadosh Baruch Hu was about to tell Moshe? Don't worry about it. I'm the one who was Sam pela adam. I'm the one who's yasam ileim. I'm going to heal you. You're going to be fine. And by the way, that would seem to be the logical response. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it sounds like he's saying it, right? If you're at the edge of your chair, it sounds like that's what the Eibush is about to say. Misam pela adam, mi yasam ileim. Oh, gewaldig, there's going to be a refuah. That's what it sounds like, but that's not what happened. What does the Eibush to tell him? I'm going to send the Aaron, he's going to be your shutif, which almost then makes it hard to understand. What did the Eibush to mean when he said Misam pela adam im yasam ileim? Fakir, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to blind the zelbek kvad peh, the zelbek kvad loshen. He's rather going to have a shutif who has good interpersonal skills, who's a very talented orator. But at the end of the day, Moshe Rabbeinu blibes in the same position, right? Doesn't it sound a little deceiving? So take a look at the Ramban. The Ramban seems to be muching with this. The Ramban says, you want to know why the Eibush didn't heal Moshe Rabbeinu? He was about to heal him. He was about to heal him. But the reason is because Moshe Rabbeinu never asked. And if you don't ask, you don't get it. It's an unbelievable thing. He says, the Eibush is setting him up. That's what he told him. Misam pela adam, umi yasam ileim. This is perfect. But what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? I'm not interested. Shlach no biyat tishlach. Send a Haran. You know what? You want a Haran? No problem. Sometimes in life you get what you ask for. If Moshe Rabbeinu, we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, but if Moshe Rabbeinu would have said, you know something, Eibush, you're right. Misam pela adam, mi yasam ileim. So therefore, yiratzim ulfanecha shetishlach refuah shaleim of Meri Yameinu l'Moshe ben Yechevet. You should go ahead and give me a refuah on this thing. Eibush would have healed him, says the Ramban. But he never asked for that. He said, you know what? Shlach no biyat tishlach. You want a Haran? No problem. That's what you asked for. That's what you're going to get. In the words of Rabbeinu Bechaya, who says the same exact thing that the Ramban says, but he says it so succinctly. Umashaloi ripay Hashem yizbarach. The reason is, it's because he didn't daven. You want to know why he didn't daven? Because he didn't want to go. Moshe Rabbeinu knew his tefillah would have been answered, but the whole point is, I don't want to do this. Shlach no biyat tishlach. Maybe you'll send a Haran. Now, at the end of the day, he ended up going. And because he never davened, and Aaron's now on board, so Aaron's going to be his mouthpiece. So he doesn't need his own mouth to be able to talk. It's going to go through a Haran. But really, Mashalei Ripay Hashem Yizbarach, Dolei Heser Koiver Piv, Mipnei Shaloi Hispala. Which segues us into the last Torah. And that is, why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu put up such a fight? 5 tainas, 7 days. At some point, you would think Moshe Rabbeinu would be up for the task. Just Haga ba'atzmacha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself to Avram Avinu. He tells him, Kachnos binchas yechidcha asher hafta. Right? It's Yitzchak. And what does Avram Avinu do? Doesn't ask any questions. He goes and he took Yitzchak. Now the Eibush had to clarify it. Your son, which son? The one you love. I love both my sons. Beseder. But it was one conversation, and Avram Avinu said, if this is what the Eibush wants me to do, then this is what I'm going to do. How's it possible that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Avi HaNeviim, is putting up such a fight? It's something that's very, very hard to understand. The truth is, the Ramban addresses this question as well. And the Ramban says that you have to say that That the reason Moshe Rabbeinu put up such a fight was it was because of his incredible humility. He felt he was too humble to be able to do this. Now, is this misplaced humility? But this is where Moshe Rabbeinu was coming from. You want to know the shirish of why Moshe Rabbeinu was not holding by doing this? Says the Ramban, it was based on the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was very, very humble, and it was because of his humility that he felt that this is not something that he was up to do. And this is without a question the Pashut Pshat, the way we were taught it when we were children, and the way we learn it now. Moshe Rabbeinu, because of his incredible anava, felt that he wasn't the person for the job. But I saw from one of the Rishonim, this is Rabbeinu Avram ben Arambam, the Rambam's son, he says a different pshat. Rabbeinu Avram ben Arambam says like this: V'nira li lefi havanosi. I'm going to tell you the way I understand this parsha. Shesibas miyunay shal Moshe olav hashal. That the reason Moshe Rabbeinu refused so profusely to go, and the reason he wanted to just be potter from this is because he preferred to be able to live a life of hispoidedus, and to try to achieve some level of shleimus, and to be able to experience the greatest tainik that a person can experience, which she already started to be masik, and to be able to live the life that he so badly wanted to live. Says Rabbeinu Avram ben Arambam, I believe that the reason Moshe Rabbeinu refused the shlichus is because Moshe Rabbeinu understood that this was a job that was not nekiya v'kala. This was a job that was going to take him away from his avodah. What am I going to do? I'm going to drezach now, base paroi, and I'm going to start negotiating with this mushchis. It's not something he wanted to do. Ki bachar yoyser that's what he preferred to do, and it's for that reason he was putting up a fight. Absolutely fascinating. But this is what Rabbeinu Avram ben Arambam says is the reason that Moshe Rabbeinu put up the resistance that he put up. So I was thinking, Lulei de Mistafina, and maybe this is Pashit, and maybe this is even Emes. The pasuk says, Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe, and Rashi quotes Chazal. The Rabbi Shua ben Karcha said, Kol charoin af sheb'Torah nema by Roshim. Every time you find the concept of a charoin af in the Torah, there's always a Roshim. Something bad happens. V'zeloi nema by Roshim. But over here there was no Roshim. V'loi matzinu sheba'inish al yidei oisacharin. And you don't find there was any punishment that came about because of the charoin af. So Rabbi Shua ben Karcha commented, he said, this Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe is the exception to the rule. Every charoin af involves a tangible punishment. This did not. Incidentally, the Ramban says that if the real reason the Eibusha didn't heal Moshe Rabbeinu was because of the Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe. Really? The Eibusha was about to say, oh, I told you, Misam Pella Adam and Miyasam Ilay Moicherish, and now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to heal you. But the Vayichar af Hashem was Oyser Roshim. And you know what the Roshim was? I'm not healing you. Now already, Hu Yeh L'chol Peh, your mouth is going to be an external mouthpiece that's going to be a haron. But either way, Rashi continues and says, oh, Malay Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi told Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, Af Bezu Nema by Roshim. I disagree. I think there's a Roshim. There was a punishment that happened over here. You know where it is? Haloya Haron, Ochicha, Halevi. Those are the next words in the Torah. Shahaya Asid Liois Levi V'loi Koyin. Aharon HaKoyin was supposed to be the Levi, not the Koyin. V'akuhuna Ha'isi Omer Lotzeis Mimcha. And really you were supposed to be the Koyin. Now it's going to be that, not going to be that way. Elohu Yeh Koyin V'ato Levi. He's going to be the Koyin, you're going to be the Levi. Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to be the Koyin. Ultimately, the Kahuna was supposed to come from the descendants of Moshe Rabbeinu, but it didn't. It came from Aharon. You want to know when it changed? Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe. That's the charoin af. And where do you see it in the pasuk? Vayomer haloy Aharon achicho halevi. Aharon, who was supposed to be the Levi, he was the Levi in past tense, but now already he's going to end up being the Kohen. The oynish that Moshe Rabbeinu got for putting up this fight, the Roshim of the Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe was, you were supposed to be the Kohen, but moving forward, you're not going to be the Kohen. I think Lefi this Rabbeinu Avram ben Arambam Mikenes Vashtein Ba'oimek, and that is based on Torah that we've spoken out from the Chasam Sofer countless times. And really, it's the Even Apina. It's the cornerstone of the Chasam Sofer's Petuchei Chaysim, where the Chasam Sofer said that the role of the Kohen, the role of the Kohen God, really the role of every man in Yisrael, is to be mevater on his own personal aliyah, and it's to be mevater on his chuk and his cheshik that he has, l'sanagal Hashem, and to give himself up to his talmidim, to give himself up to his chasidim, to give himself up to people that ask him shaylas, that people that come to chizik, and people that come to him for help. And he says throughout history there were those that were able to achieve an incredible level of personal shleimus, but they're not the leaders of Klal Yisrael. Chanoich comes to mind. But who were the leaders? It was the Avram Avinus, who were Vanefesh Ashas B'charon, who put themselves out in such an incredible way. The role of the Kohen, the role of the Kohen Gadol, the role of the leaders of Klal Yisrael was Yoru Mishpatecha LaYaakov V'Seirascha LaYisrael. We're learning Kachim now. The Kohen is in the Beis HaMikdash. He's bringing all the different karbanas, right? He's in the Azara. That's, of course, part and parcel of his avodah. But in the Torah, the Chasam Sofer, the real job of the leaders of Klal Yisrael, who were the Kohanim in the Torah, the real job was to put themselves out there and to give themselves up 100% to the people that were following them. That's why the Pasuk says, the Navi said about Aharon HaKohen, V'rabim Heishiv Me'avoin. Chasam Sofer quotes that Keseda through his Svarim. The Mishnah says about Aharon HaKohen, what does it mean to be a Talmud of Aharon HaKohen? Oyev Shalom, Roidev Shalom, Oyev Es Habriyos, Umekarven L'Torah. We mentioned from one of the Kadmoinim, he was one of the Megarshei Sfarad, who wrote a Pirush on Pirkei Avos. He was talking about the Madreg of Aharon HaKohen, and he said such a beautiful lashon. He says, "Ein bein Aharon HaKohen la'Avram Avinu el shmoina begadam belvad." There's no chiluk between the Aharon HaKohen's avodah and Avram Avinu's avodah, other than the shmoina begadam. Avram Avinu's avodah, we know what it was. Va'nefesh asher asa b'charon. It's vayita eshel. It's going into the grieve, mamish, going into the blood and schlepping people out. That was his madrega. That was his avodah. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose him to be the father of Klal Yisrael. Aharon HaKohen's avodah was the identical avodah. It's oyeves habriyos umekarven l'Torah going in. In fact, the only nafkamina is that Aharon HaKohen wears the shmeina begad and Avram doesn't. And what was the oisfir? He fears oisfir. Remez ledavar. Avram is begematria 248, and Aharon is begematria 256. What's the difference between 256 and 248? It's 8. Ein bein Aharon HaKohen la'Avram Avinu elo shmoina begadim belvad. But the point is that the tachlis of the Kohen is to put himself out there. The tachlis of the Kohen is not to worry about his personal aliyah, but rather he should be there. He should be there for the people. Moshe Rabbeinu for 7 days is negotiating with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mi anoichi ke'elech al paroi v'chi yoitzi es b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim v'hein lo yaminu. And what is Moshe Rabbeinu saying? Sibas miyuna is ki bachar yoisel lehispoideit velasek bavas mahusel ledei shleimus ulesanik bekirvas hakel. Vayichar af Hashem. The Eibishter told Moshe, Moshe, you're going to be the shliach because I created you. You're that ness. When you were born, it was this Mala Habayis Kulayera. You're the one that has the potential to see Nevuah Basbaklariyam Ira. You're going to be the shliach. But what you want will actually be manifest. It'll be manifest through your children. Aharon's going to be the Kohen Gadol, and Aharon's children are going to be the Kohanim. His children are going to be the ones that are going to be the leaders of Klal Yisrael. Aharon, who's Vira'acha v'samach v'liboy, he's so excited to take on this position. He's not thinking about his personal aliyah. That's the Yesida Chasidus v'shayrish avodah tmima. That is the cornerstone of what it takes to be the Kohen, to be the Kohen Gadol. His descendants are going to be the Kohanim and the Kohanim Gedolim. Your descendants are not going to be the Kohanim. They're not going to be the Kohanim Gedolim. Maybe this is a little bit of a mahalach in understanding the Vayichar af Hashem that was Oyser Roshim, a little bit of the Midah Keneged Midah. Why Moshe Rabbeinu for being Messiah for 7 days? What was his punishment? His punishment was that he lost the kahuna.